Before we discuss receiving inspections, let's quickly review roles and responsibilities. Everyone in the aviation industry has the responsibility to ensure aviation regulations and safety are met. This lesson will provide information about receiving parts and materials to ensure that safety margins are in place for parts that are installed on aircraft and engines. The objectives of this lesson are to describe parts receiving processes pertaining to parts and materials being stocked, installed, or sold for installation on type certificated products. Identify suspected unapproved and improperly maintained parts and to know the differences between the two. How to implement a suspected unapproved part or SUP program policy per the certification and industry standards. Conduct SUP program inspection activities that satisfy aviation safety and installation requirements. Before 1997, it was common to find that most facilities did not see the value of performing parts receiving inspections. Receiving inspections were primarily conducted to check that the number of parts or materials received matched what was listed on the purchase orders. In 1997, the FAA introduced industry-suspected unapproved parts, or SUP training, to teach and provide information to protect the facility and certificate holders from receiving, installing, and selling unapproved parts and materials for type-certificated products. SUP training was also initiated to ensure that organizations that received parts met the regulatory requirements and were confirmed to be eligible for installation on type-certificated products. The parts procurement cycle is never-ending. It begins when a need is identified through manufacturing and/or maintenance processes and activities. Throughout the procurement cycle, the parts validation process should be a team effort that involves purchasing, quality, stores, and maintenance personnel. Once a part need is generated and the part is obtained through the procurement process, it must be inspected to ensure it meets the user's needs as well as regulatory requirements. Only after a part has been confirmed to meet these requirements should it be approved as new stockroom or store's inventory for your facility. From the store or stockroom, the approved part can be issued for installation, or it can also be sold, creating a turnover the possible need to make additional purchases. When purchasing parts, you should always do business with approved suppliers who have undergone a quality evaluation by your quality control or quality assurance staff. It is recommended that the parts procurement and acceptance procedures and processes, as well as training requirements, be documented in a company parts receiving program or SUP manual to ensure that the procedures are well understood and available to those assigned to the parts procurement and receiving tasks. By documenting the specific steps and procedures, as well as referencing the regulatory requirements, it will help ensure that the process is well understood and standardized to help ensure purchase order requirements and safety is being met. Initial and recurrence training should be documented and completed annually to ensure all personnel are familiar with the parts receiving requirements and processes. The parts procurement process should ensure that the parts and/or materials that are intended to be purchased are approved parts. Do not install or sell any parts unless you have confirmed that the part is approved for installation on type-certificated products. The procurement process should include 1. Methods for identifying distributors and/or suppliers that have a documentation and receiving inspection system in place that ensures traceability of parts and materials to FAA or CAA approved facilities. The documented parts incoming receiving inspection should specify purpose, to ensure parts and materials meet the purchase order and the regulatory requirements. Process, standardized to ensure everyone is trained and follows the exact same receiving protocol. This provides a high degree of certainty for all procurement staff, and that if an employee leaves their job or retires, the next person can easily pick up and follow the protocol and no aspect of safety is jeopardized. Outcome. The goal is to ensure that the parts received are approved and airworthy prior to acceptance, stocking, installing, or selling the parts or materials. This also helps maintain the safety of the aircraft, engines, and systems that receive these parts.